Double cut my yard because I first mulch them, and then I come over and back them.
Good evening. Welcome to the Walker Planning Commission meeting of Wednesday, November 19, 2025. Looking at the agenda, next item is the review of the minutes from October 1, 2025. Commissioners, you had a chance to take a look at the meeting minutes. Do we have a motion to consider approval of the minutes?
I move the adoption of the minutes of October 1st, 2025 as presented.
Second.
Okay, motion by Rob, supported by Pat to approve the minutes of October 1, 2025. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carried. At this point, it's an opportunity for general public comment. We've got 2 items on the agenda, and there will be discussion on those. But if you have some comments about something otherwise within the community, concern, a question, this is your opportunity to step forward to the mic, give us your name and address, and share with us your thoughts. No takers. We'll move into the agenda items. First case is case number 25-009. It's a site condo project, Riverbend North LLC, and asking Planning Director Paula Preby to reintroduce this project.
Thank you, Chair. Would you like to take it off the table now, or do you want me to do my report first?
Well, that's a good point. Why don't we...
I'll make a motion to remove this case from the table.
Support.
Moved by Scott, supported by Elena, to remove it from the table that took place back in August. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. There we go.
Thank you,
Paula.
Chair. All right, so let me pull up the site plan here. It should look familiar, but a little bit different. So this case originally came to the Planning Commission in early August, at the August 6th meeting, for 2 items, for a rezoning and for a site condominium review. The rezoning was recommended to the City Commission at that meeting. The City Commission approved it, and it went into effect in early September. So the site is now zoned SA, suburban residential single family. At that first August meeting, the site condominium was reviewed. At that time, the site condo had 24 units and showed 2 90-degree bends in the road. At the time, there was some concern about traffic related to that road, to parking, to speeds, some other factor, so the project was tabled. Resubmitted plans came back on September 17th to the Planning Commission with a little bit more information, but the Planning Commission still had concerns about those 90-degree bends in the road, so the project was tabled again, directing the developer to realign the road and to the 25-mile-per-hour road speed design for the city. And then we see the plan here today for this meeting. The minutes from those other meetings were in the packet for the board. The public hearing was opened at the first meeting and closed, and opened again at the second meeting to take additional public comment, and was closed again. This plan in front of us shows 22 lots in the site condominium. It's a reduction of 2 from previous versions. There are also 3 lettered lots, A, B, C, on the outside, on Keno Avenue and Riverbend Drive. Those are not part of the site condo. Those will be split off in a standard lot division and be separate lots. So the site condo is just those ones colored in there on Melker Avenue. You can see that's a change in the street name because it aligns with the existing Melker to the south. The developer renamed that. It had the stub street up off Fenwood, previously had the name Fleetwood, but it would have been a new road that aligned with a previous road with a different name, and so it was decided to change that, and that is perfectly acceptable, and I will probably clear up some confusion for folks who live there or are trying to navigate to that area. I don't have any conditions or recommendations for the board at this time. The sample motion that I provided in the packet asks for 2 things before, if the project is approved before moving forward, and that's that copies of the master deed and condominium bylaws are shared with the city, and that the easements that are part of the project are shared with the city. But the plans from my review are in pretty good shape, and happy to answer questions from the board, but that's really all I've got for you. We've talked about this one a fair amount so far.
Okay, thank you, Paula. Commissioners, you've had a chance to take a look at the information she's put together and her comments here. Any questions you have at this point for her? Okay. All right, we'll then move on to Scott Connors, city engineer.
Not much additional to report here. Paula had a good summary. The new alignment is much preferred, and I think we can work out some of the details if this moves past tonight to get on some of the other issues that we've had in the past. You've got our past reports as well, and we're comfortable with the change.
Thanks, Scott. Any questions for Scott?
Well, what we complained about was the right angles. We had some really tight angles, and look, looks beautiful to me. And we've got 2 less lots, so I think it ought to be something that we've tried to work with everybody, and this sounds fine with me.
Very good, very good. I think it's a case here too that in the recommendation that Paul has put together, the draft sample recommendation, it does reference the city engineers, what was the date I know, was that in July?
August 27th and let's see here.
September.
July 29th?
So
At least those were the dates that were written.
if I can jump in, Terry, it looks like you might be looking at my older staff report, which did have those comments, and I kept that in the packet for all of the additional information and background and history and other things. At this time, I have no further recommendations. It's just the documents related to the site condominium and the easement documentation are the only things that I would need to see at this time. The board is welcome. If there are additional conditions relevant to the case, the board would like to apply, obviously.
Well, what I was getting to is that Scott there were some questions about drainage and things of that nature. Are those all addressed in this plan, or those still pending?
I think those would still be pending, and we would still be looking for those in the final area site plan, but that's pretty traditional to work out every detail. We want to make sure that we're all satisfied with the alignment first, so that we don't have them waste a lot of resources.
Okay, all right, thank you. Rob?
Mr. Chairman, just so the city engineer and the planner are not suggesting that we condition it on anything, just, there are no conditions
These ones.
other than the 3 that are identified in the draft?
Should we add in like previous city planner and city engineer reports to be just to be consistent?
Yes, you're welcome to,
Okay.
if there are additional concerns.
And I think the beauty of it at this point, when we have a development that requires 2 approvals, is that whether you condition our first reports or not, we're going to bring them up in terms of the second review, and so we'll knock those out.
Yeah. I think it's important for the neighbors as well as the applicant to know whether or not this is consistent with the city regulations and policies.
Yes.
And it sounds like, to the extent of the detail thus far, it is in that circumstance.
Yes, from the planning review, with a site condominium plan like this, first I want to clarify something Scott brought up. So this is a site condominium review. So these are the preliminary condominium plans that come to the Planning Commission for a recommendation, and then the City Commission for review. And then when the condominium is finalized, when the road's put in and everything's put together, then the City Commission does a final acceptance. This will not return to the Planning Commission for an additional review, like a final area site plan. That doesn't happen here. But what I would look at in this case from a planning and zoning perspective, all the lots meet or exceed the SA district regulations. They show the shared mailbox area at the largest lot in terms of frontage, so that will hopefully address some of the concerns that the board had at previous meetings regarding crowding in that area where the corners are. We've worked with the developer for street trees when the lots come in that shows sidewalks on both sides of the road. Those sorts of things that I would be looking for, I believe are all met in the plans before us.
And Paul is right, I'm sorry, I forgot it goes to the City Commission for the second review.
Okay, all right. So with that background, if we could have the applicant come forward, if you want to introduce or reintroduce this revised plan.
Sure, yeah, Rick Pulaski with Niederveld, we're the planner and engineer for the project. I'm here with Dale Cracker, who's the builder for the project. Here for any questions that you have, but we don't have anything further to add.
Okay, thank you. And as I think has been mentioned, really appreciate your listening to those concerns and coming with this plan. Mark?
Yes, just echoing everything the board has said so far. Really only one thing jumps out to me here. On the main sheet here, the illustrative site plan, assuming that's a unique name here. Anyways, number 5 and 6, I see stormwater management basin, and 6 is a common element, which I assume will be just a common use green space. The only thing that really jumps out to me is that, you know, if I'm in, say, any of the lots on the west side, the only way to access that common element is to walk all the way south to Riverbend Drive and then all the way around. The only other way would be to walk through someone's yard. And I'm certainly not going to condition my vote on this, but if there is any way to provide an easement or an access point to that common space for the condos on the west side without them having to walk all the way to Riverbend Drive southwest, or let's be honest, to walk through other people's yards, I think that'd probably be appreciated by the future residents.
Good point. The applicant want to?
Yeah, our common element that you see on the east side and also a little bit on the north of 18 through 20 is not really intended to be like a big active recreational area. It's predominantly our stormwater area, in fact. North of 18, 19, and 20, that's where we're carrying through a lot of storm sewer from west to east. And so we don't envision that as being something where we want people, intentionally directed to that area, because it is behind people's yards, and we just want them to kind of recognize the yard as the yard and leave the open space as open space.
Okay, thank you.
If you look at sheet C300, Mark, it shows the 2 storm sewer lines running through there to the detention pond.
I think there's some benefit of recognizing that common element in this case is a limited one for that drainage purpose
Yeah,
rather
for
than,
drainage work than
Yeah.
anything, yeah.
than recreation. Again, helpful for both the applicant as well as the neighbors. Any other comment or questions concerning this? Anyone prepared to offer a motion regarding this project?
I'll make a motion for case number 25-009B, site condominium review for 4715 Riverbend Drive Southwest. Based on the application material provided, I make a motion to forward the recommendation to the City Commission for the approval of the preliminary site condominium plan for the new residential development featuring 22 single-family condominium lots on a new public road with public water and private septic facilities at 4715 Riverbend Drive Northwest, subject to the following conditions and based on the findings or facts noted below. 1. Conditions of preliminary site condominium plan recommendations. 1. Recorded copies of the master deed and condominium bylaw shall be provided to the Community Development Department prior to the issuance of any building permits. 2. Public utility easements are recorded and copies provided to the Community Development Department prior to the issuance of building or stormwater permits. 3. Conditions laid out in previous meetings from both the city planner and city engineer to be addressed. Findings of facts. 1. The proposed site condominium development meets the requirements contained in section 18.10 of the Walker zoning ordinance. 2. The condominium plan as presented is found adequate in regards to the proposed common elements and maintenance provisions, use and occupancy restrictions, utility systems, public and private streets, and project layout and design. 3. The type of lots and proposed uses within the condominium development are compatible with the existing development in the area and with future development as outlined in the master plan.
Okay, is there any support?
I'll support.
All right, motion by Elena, supported by Jacob, to conditionally approve the project at hand. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thank you very much.
Sir, there was no opportunity for public comment?
Yeah. Sir, it was a case that we had public hearing, public comment for the first two back in August and in September. And it was tabled back in September with a specific issue dealing with the road alignment. And through the recommendations of staff and our conversation, we feel that that road alignment issue had been addressed and therefore would go forward for the next step.
I just find it strange that everyone was notified that there was gonna be a planning commission meeting tonight. Now, a public forum, so to speak. And, yeah, I look at the road and it's exactly what you guys wanted them to take the 90-degree angles out of that. But you would think that you would have an opportunity to speak to, I don't know, the neighborhood, something. But, I mean, we came down here and just like a rubber stamp. Now, I'm not saying I'm opposed to it. I think, in fact, I don't live right next to the property, but it seems kind of strange to me that you just rubber stamped this thing and you didn't give the neighborhood, you notified them that there was a meeting tonight. Well, we could have read about it in the paper.
And I should have explained that going into that we would not be any public comment on it because it's been closed before. I guess I look to the fellow commissioners. Do you see, would you be open to taking some public comment, clarifications?
This is, a dollar late, a day short. I mean, it's been approved. So, I mean, it's pretty much, thanks for coming. But anyhow,
I think just to maybe present some clarification to what Terry is speaking to when it comes to public comments, and the previous two that we had as well. It's supposed to be a presentation of new information. So, and that was something similar to the second one, which we didn't necessarily have to have, but we opened it regardless because, again, we wanted community input into it. And again, the panel here, the board, after reviewing the updates here and the comments provided by the public and the neighbors in the area, we took all that feedback into this, and again, the commission here unanimously approved it, meeting those comments, and yeah, we went forward from here. And I think that's why there wasn't the need to reopen the public hearing, if I'm correct in saying that.
Paula?
And if I may add something, this project will go to the city commission. So this is a recommendation to the city commission. There's an opportunity for members of the public who would like additional comments to be heard to attend that upcoming city commission meeting and provide feedback.
Okay. Again, my apologies for not making that clear up front.
There was a misunderstanding, I think, by most of the people here that there was a chance for, I mean, I don't see anybody here, maybe there's some people here from Ferndale, but I mean, I would still have questions.
I live on Riverbend, so now
For,
we're gonna have
on the
a
retention ponds, I think that's gonna be a big thing, but you know what? It was handled the way it's handled, and that was it. Somebody got taken off.
All right.
Is there any room for just a general question? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Like, it's not nothing, it's just a question.
Yeah, if you give your name and address.
My name is Joshua Boswell. I live at 4620 Fenwood. The city water is coming through now on Fenwood there. I thought it was coming through on Riverbend originally. Is that something that they will just take care of, or is that something we're all gonna be asked to pay for as it comes through?
They will extend it slightly down Fenwood. It's already in Riverbend.
Right.
So there's a few houses on Fenwood that don't have water now.
Yep.
There would not be an assessment necessarily to hook up to that, but when you do decide to hook up, if someone does decide to hook up, they would still have to pay for it at that time.
So I just put a new well in, I don't have to pay anything as it goes through?
No.
Perfect.
But if your well goes bad,
Then it is there.
it's out there and it's available like an insurance policy, but you still have to pay at that time.
Fantastic. Thank you.
If you want to come forward.
It wouldn't go any farther than the entrance to this development. The city's not planning on that, no. This is a development by a developer. So we are not going to require them to do anything more than what they need to for the development, but it'll be stubbed so that if the neighbors want it in the future, it can be added.
Dorothy Pater, and I live on 1483 Ferndale. I just wondered if you guys have addressed the issue of the traffic on Riverbend. The speed limit is 40 miles an hour. With all this traffic and stuff, I mean, nobody's gonna be able to get in and out, and people already probably go more than the 40 miles an hour. You know that, and the kids from the school go more than that. So would they reduce that on Riverbend, the speed limit then, to anything less than 40?
It's kind of a long-winded answer, but I think the state law dictates what the speed limits are going to be. We
Okay.
can't just arbitrarily lower them.
Okay.
They're based on kind of a complicated formula here. I think what we've targeted is to try to help with sidewalk. And we've reached out to the school district to try to come up with a plan to work with them. In front of the houses, there will be new sidewalk, but there's gonna be some gaps.
Okay, but the 40 mile an hour is without the new development, so would they relook at that then as far as the?
We could relook at it. There's a little danger in that, because if the speeds go up, the speed limit
Well, I
would
wouldn't
go
want
up.
to go up, but,
So
have it
I
come
try to
down.
be honest with everybody when they ask for that, because you might not like what you find. We
Well,
fought the speed limit law pretty hard, but we
Okay.
still have to be compliant with it. We have to,
Okay.
follow the law.
Okay, okay.
Scott, sorry, I'm out of order here. Do I recall that is the state law is PA 80? Or is that old
I was gonna say
information?
85, but it's something like that.
Okay, just for something for you guys to look up if anyone in the gallery wants to look that up. It's
Well
a
done.
bit annoying, but, well, I was once a teenager. I looked these things up.
All right. Again, my apologies for the not clarifying that up front. And as was pointed out by the city engineer and the planning director, this will go to the city commission. You'll be getting notice on that, have an opportunity to comment at that point in time.
Paula, I guess I have a question on that. When these go out, do the letters say like public hearing or like just a planning commission meeting, or does it not matter?
We have a standard template that we use when we send cards. When a case comes for by default, they say public hearing. I don't recall, we try when a public hearing has been opened and closed and something comes back to edit them to say public comment. I don't know if that happened in this specific case. And then just to clarify one thing that the chair just said, we do not send cards for city committee meetings. So it will be on the agenda for a future meeting. I'm not sure which meeting yet. After things get approved or recommendations come from the planning commission, I then take them to the city manager and the city clerk and find a time on an upcoming city commission agenda with space to put them on that agenda. And so I can't guarantee when this will come to the next city commission meeting. Likely one of the December meetings. I don't know if it will be next week's city commission meeting or December.
But if someone in the audience wanted to
Reach
call,
out to me and find out when that is. Yes, they absolutely can reach out to me.
And we never turn away questions. If questions come, like some of these were very technical questions, we'll take all the time we need to answer those for people one-on-one. That's probably the best format for that.
Ma'am?
I'm Barb Heisinger, I live on 4668 Fenwood Street. I know you're not the police department, but we would sure appreciate to have police go up and down our streets to catch some of these kids and give speeding tickets. The only time we see police around is like 10 o'clock in the morning. There's no speeders at 10 o'clock in the morning. If they come to around where I live on Fenwood, at 10 minutes to 3, they will catch a lot of them. You'll have a lot of money to spend. If you could pass that on to the police department, I'd appreciate it. We've had kids end up in our yard, hooked up on our rocks that we have in our yard, especially in the winter when the roads are slippery. But in the summer, they don't need to worry about the slipperiness, but they're speedy, and it's bad.
If I could ask staff to just pass that along to the police department.
I mean, I have talked to the police, and they say they'll come, but they don't. Like I say, they come at 10 o'clock in the morning. Big deal.
Well, we'll have that message shared back with them then.
Okay, appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, if we may, we'll move on to case number 25-016. This is a public hearing for a project on Alpine Avenue. Planning Director Paula Preby, if you would please introduce the project.
Thank you, Chair. So this is, I'll keep the site plan up on the screen, but first a few items. So here's where we are in the city. For context, so this is the northwest side of the city in Ward 1, or sorry, northeast side of the city in Ward 1, on Alpine, north of the highway. So first here is the PASP for this project. It was approved a long time ago. This is the Alpine Summit PUD. I believe this was approved in the early 2000s when the big Kmart remodel happened and that strip mall was developed as it looks today. So we're looking at Outlot 1 in this development, which is currently the TGI Fridays building. TGI Fridays has been closed for some time. So this is the outlot in question, and we'll now pull up the site plan for this project and we'll go through some of my comments here. So it was submitted as an applicant by the Benchmark Design Group on behalf of Raising Cane's Restaurants. That is, the project is to construct a new 3,100 square foot Raising Cane's quick service restaurant with drive-through. The site is zoned CPUD, and it's part of that Alpine Summit planned unit development. So the PASP is already in place. We don't need to amend that. It is an existing outlot, and that, so we have a final area site plan for the new use. The plan is to raise the existing building and build a new facility for the new use. It's before the board for two different reviews. That means two motions. The first is for a special land use. A special land use in the CPUD district permits, quote, any use permitted in the ORP C1 and C2 is deemed appropriate by the Planning Commission, unquote. And so restaurants are permitted in the C1 and C2 districts, therefore they are permitted in the CPUD district. It's a special land use. It needs that additional review by the board. There are two items here. So first we look at the standards in section 18.09 of the ordinance that states that special uses are permitted only after the review and approval of the Planning Commission to ensure that the uses are compatible with the character of the surrounding area, the adjacent uses of land, the natural environment, capacities of public services and facilities, and the public health, safety, and welfare. So there are 6 standards provided in the ordinance regarding making sure that those items are met. The applicant has submitted responses to those that are in the packet for review. Additionally, the board is encouraged to review the additional requirements for drive-throughs found in section 6.03 of the Walker zoning ordinance. And there are 5 items here, and they regard the design and orientation of the drive-through so that it doesn't negatively impact adjacent properties, that there is a stacking lane to accommodate a minimum of 5 cars, as well as a bypass lane to move around the drive-through stacking lane as needed and for emergencies, looking at the area where the ordering board, if there's usually noise there, and making sure that that noise doesn't travel beyond the site, and then signage. So those are the considerations for the special land use. The other component is the final area site plan review. The applicant met with the staff site plan review committee at the end of October and was provided feedback. And the standards for final area site plan requirements that I primarily look at are found in section 11.02.f of the zoning ordinance. And based on my review, I believe the plans as presented meet the Walker zoning ordinance regulations for use, setbacks, conformity with the approved PASP, parking, loading, lighting, and landscaping. And so those are the things you normally hear from me, comments about those items. These plans from my review get a gold star. I don't have any additional recommendations for like conditional approval based on the things that I review in that regard. They are requesting some significant PUD benefits in the form of signage. So I'm going to pivot to that. And there is, the end of my report here is a memo from zoning administrator Megan Gorby. Megan and I work closely together, and she handles the everyday sign permits that come in. And when there are complicated ones that come to the Planning Commission, I always ask for her review because she is very detail oriented and excellent at compiling the information on these. So Here is a copy from the signage package that was in the packet for the board. You can see a list of all of the different signs here and where they would be located on the site. There is a freestanding sign as well as wall signage proposed for all sides of the building, and some directional signage related to the drive-through. One thing of note here is that they're proposing, you can see here, there's a 4x8 wall sign. There are 4 of them. They are numbers 2, 3, 4, and 5. So that's on all 4 sides of the building. Our standard zoning ordinance or signage ordinance only permits wall signage on roads, on sides facing public roads. Along Alpine, the board often provides greater flexibility in signage because of the high traffic and the uses present. We usually don't, like, seeing it on the rear is unusual, but the signs facing Alpine as well as the north and the south are pretty common, and we see that often. So you can see here what the proposed signage is. So that's that sign that I mentioned that's on all 4 of the sides, that kind of circular sign there, this one. There's also some additional branded signage that Raising Cane's does. And of note, I'll jump back to the memo really quick. There's this number 1 sign here that extends above the roof line, which is also something that we don't often see here in the city of Walker. So on Megan's memo here, you can see the signs from the package, what type of sign they are. There's a bunch of artwork that we normally permit and don't have any issue with. Here's that, I believe that number 1 sign that extends 2.5 feet above the roof line. Some of that artwork that also includes the picture of the dog. They have a branded photo of a dog on their buildings. We consider that artwork, not signage, so that isn't counted toward the wall signage. You can see here the freestanding sign proposed is only slightly larger than the traditional allowance, and so in my view that falls well within acceptable PUD benefits area. But then you get to this wall signage, and they are permitted by ordinance 1 square foot per linear foot of building frontage. So that would be 56 square feet. The request is for 329 square feet, which is 273 square feet beyond what is generally permitted in the ordinance. As I stated, the city of Walker often permits additional signage to businesses, specifically restaurants along busy Alpine Avenue. So really this is going to the board. I encourage you to discuss what is reasonable additional signage in the board's determination and to speak with the applicant about it. As a comparison, I pulled up 2 of the most recent restaurants along Alpine Avenue and the greater signage that they were permitted. McAllister's Deli across the street there was permitted by the Planning Commission earlier this year to have a total of 131 square feet of wall signage plus additional window signage. You can see here there's some window signage here, less than McAllister's had, but they are requesting, Raising Cane's is requesting more wall signage, formal wall signage. In 2023, the ZBA approved additional signage for Chick-fil-A a little further up Alpine, and that was 113 square feet of wall signage, where they were permitted by ordinance 80 square feet. And again, in that case, they requested more than that, and the ZBA pared it down a little bit to what that board determined to be a reasonable amount of additional signage. In that case, they were permitted signage on both the north and south sides of the building, even though they don't front a public road because of the nature of the business and the traffic along Alpine. So I'm just giving you some additional context for your upcoming discussion about signage and what signage is reasonable and permitted by the board. So my recommendation to the board is to grant approval of the special land use for the drive-through, as well as to grant approval of the FASP for the restaurant. And the only additional recommendation I have there is to include the board's determination on signage allowance in that motion. And I'm happy to answer any questions that the board has for me.
Thank you very much, Paula. Commissioners, any questions?
We spend a lot of time on signs. I'm almost 90 years old, and driving up and down Alpine's tough. When I pull in a fast food place, I'd rather see the signs, even if they're out of date. So I think we ought to go along with her suggestion of this. And maybe we should take signs in individual, each spot. It's nice to have rules, but gee, when you read that, we're way off by 300, so you're right bringing that up. So, but boy, I'm looking for those signs when I drive into those places. I don't want to mess things up, yeah.
Thank you, Joe. Rob?
Paula, just from what you recited with respect to McAllister's and Chick-fil-A, it struck me that this is probably a little bit more ratio to what is allowable relative to what is being asked. Is that a fair conclusion from your presentation?
I would state that, that I tried to pull some examples to give the board some context. So in those other cases, the board granted additional signage above the minimum, and the minimum is based on the size of the building. And so Raising Cane's has a small footprint building. It's part of the way that they operate. And their limited menu. They have some interior seating as well as some outside seating, and they do a lot of drive-through business. So they have a relatively small building, which reduces that, allowed signage per the ordinance. This is a PUD, so the board can grant additional signage. My interpretation is that the request is quite high. Some of that is more, you might call it, artistic, kind of unusual signage. This drive-through arrow is technically wall signage, but is kind of not. It doesn't say the business name. It does, it is considered a sign, but for the purposes of counting toward that number, I don't know if that's directional signage more than like branded business signage. You see this very large sign here. They always brand that specifically to the restaurant, so that you see it says Walker there. Raising Cane's recently opened up a location in Kentwood. That one says Kentwood. And so those are specific, but that is a very large sign. And then they have these signs on all four sides of the building. This is considered artwork. And then some of these other ones are considered signage, like this one here that says One Love is considered signage. I believe it's a lit sign. It is not Raising Cane's branded, it doesn't say Raising Cane's. It's
That was my question, is like, I guess a question for the applicant when we get to that point is like, which ones are these lit? Like to kind of what Paula was saying is like, if they're not backlit or anything like that, like that number 8, like how much is that actually, like that doesn't really affect anything. That doesn't really, to my opinion, add clutter to the signage because it's on the building. But I struggle with the one definitely facing to the west, the back side of the building. Like, I think just trying to be consistent, because I know that was a huge thing we talked about with McAllister's too.
Yes, and then if you look at, I can't show both at once, but I'm looking at the memo from the zoning administrator. You'll see that sign number 9 is 62 square feet, counting toward that very large number there. Sign 9 is the drive-through arrow. So that is this sign that is currently counted. I don't know if I would consider that signage. It's very artistic. It's directional in nature, and they give it some flair. So one like that, I wouldn't necessarily count. So if it's, they're asking for an additional 273, I might knock that down to additional 210, because I don't consider, you could reasonably interpret that arrow not as signage. And this very large sign here is 140 square feet. So this very large sign on its own exceeds the allowance of signage by 2x. So what's reasonable is up to the board, but I would agree with Commissioner Huizinga Chase that the sign that doesn't face Alpine in any way feels excessive.
So if that sign number 9 simply said drive-through with an arrow, that would not be considered a sign.
Correct. There is an allowance for directional signage. Usually those tend to be relatively small. We see some of them in other places around the site. I don't know if I can get them on here, but you'll see when you get to I'm not seeing them on here, but, they're the ones,
Like the ones that were in the parking lot on the
yes, so
aerial
here's what I
view of
said. So
it.
these ones here, 16, 17, 13, 14, those are menu boards and signs that direct you around where to go. This is, 15 is the pre-sale board. So again, this is related to the drive-through. It's not considered wall signage. It's regulated differently. And we generally don't get overly nitpicky about menu board signs. We think about location. If they're lit overly brightly, they tend not to be, and focus on the noise that comes with the drive-through component when there's immediate residential nearby. We had one of those further on the south side of Alpine a few years ago, that immediately behind the restaurant plan is a residential house. And the menu was facing that house, and so all of the noise from the speaker would be going. So those are the things that I'm more concerned about that aren't a factor here. So really, it's those very large signs, and again, I would agree that this feels like directional signage to me, that arrow. I wouldn't count that against them, but it's obviously at the board's discretion.
Could I ask one more? And so the only one facing west is sign number 4 and 32 square feet?
Yes, I believe that is correct. So this is the rear elevation.
Yep.
Facing the large shopping complex behind the building.
Good. Thank you.
I guess one thing I just noticed too, that number 8 that I was talking about says it's a mural on the substrate too. I don't know. That's kind of interesting. I saw when you look at the site key. So, I don't
Yes,
know.
that's a great thing to ask the applicant about. I do recall a conversation with them about bringing a muralist out. They do that, I believe, on all of their locations.
Yeah, so, I don't know.
Mark?
Yeah, I don't believe this is technically the right time to fully flesh out the signage, so I don't want to go too far down that rabbit hole, but, just a technical question. If we approve the benefit here for the signage, how far does that carry through into the future, different owner, remodel? What is that? Is that only for this and this only very narrowly?
Yes, it would only be for this specific site, this specific plan. If someone were to renovate the building for a different user in the future and were to change the signage, it would need a sign permit from the zoning administrator or a site plan review by this board. Unlike a variance, which was in the Chick-fil-A case, that was a variance that carries with the property.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments for Paul at this point? Well, let's move to City Engineer Scott Connors, please.
I don't have any comments on signs, and I think the dog work, the artwork on the dog is beautiful. So, from an engineering perspective, as far as the access goes, they're maintaining the existing driveways. There's one on the southwest part of the site that would be eliminated. It's a great improvement. The right in, right out that's on Alpine would maintain. That is a very tough spot to get in and out of. We heard it over and over again from staff members. I've even fielded some phone calls from people after the Kentwood opening about, a lot like a Chick-fil-A when they would open up and we would talk about that. We'll probably have a similar issue here where we'll have a heavy PD enforcement or PD involvement in the opening because it is a tough spot. But from an access standpoint, it all seems reasonable. The sidewalk that's along Alpine Avenue, we had a question about that during site plan review to confirm that it's in the public right-of-way. So the parcel boundary is shown differently on a couple of the different sheets, so it's hard to tell. And in the Alta survey, it was difficult to determine if one of those easements was dedicated towards either public right-of-way or sidewalk. So we need to get that confirmed because that was supposed to happen when Fridays was here. We're not sure that it did, so we need to get that. And then the last item is a little tricky. This site is about 2/3 of the overall parent parcel. So some of the commercial property just to the north of this parking lot is technically on the same lot, but it's not something that Raising Cane's is leasing. So we're a little bit uncomfortable about how we approach this, but PD brought this up that the northern 1/3 there does not have access to the shared driveway off to the back in the Alpine Summit Shopping Center. That's a little bit troublesome because that has been such a great relief for the businesses in here, for the residents in the neighborhood to the north. You know, and I think the pledge from Paula and I moving forward was that we would do our best to bring this issue up. We weren't sure if we could require it at staff level, but we can certainly point it out and have it be a topic of discussion. And you can see there's a little 2-track, because it is so difficult in there that people will just go right over the curb to get out, you know, and in some ways maybe that's safer than, you know, going out onto Alpine Avenue there. So it's worthy of discussion. And I think in my report there was a couple pictures of that too, to just kind of provide a little bit of guidance. But the road that's north-south, can maybe like if you call it a ring road for that little shopping center, that is in an easement that allows for cross-access and is available for those businesses. It's just that there's a guardrail there and a little bit of a grade change. It really fits better to go right into this Fridays or Raising Cane's site, as you can see from the 2 tracks.
You drive right over that curve?
Yes.
I have driven over that. You get in there, you're landlocked, and it's impossible to get out.
So that's our report. I'll take any questions you have.
Anything for Scott at this point? All right, we'll now go to what I presume is the person in the audience is the representative for Raising Cane.
Good evening, guys. My name is Andrew Snodgrass. I'm with Benchmark Design Group. Here we are the engineers helping Raising Cane's on this development. I'm here just to kind of answer any questions that you guys may have.
I guess maybe one question you could start with is the signage questions that we kind of had.
Yes, ma'am. On the 4x8 signs that are on each corner of the building, those are internally illuminated. The murals, that's correct, we'll have someone come out and paint them. They will have down lighting on
Okay.
them, but nothing that is directly lit. As far as, you know, the additional signage on what's over asking, you know, I feel like, you know, we try and be very cohesive in our branding, to where wherever you pull up to Raising Cane's, it's gonna look very similar. And so that's kind of how we ended up with the package that we have.
I guess from like my standpoint, I'm comfortable with all the other signs, learning now that number 9, that really big one, or number 8, that really big one is downlit. My only thing is to just really take off that one on the west side.
Yeah, and I think we're comfortable in doing that.
Okay.
You know, initially we had it there so people that were in the, you know, shopping center would be able to identify the restaurant. But if y'all feel like what we're asking for is too much in signage, I feel comfortable in removing that one on the
Okay.
west.
Yeah, I think that's my biggest thing is if we can get rid of that west facing one, especially facing that way. It seems like people pulling into the shopping center, you're gonna see it pulling in for sure. That's kind of my biggest thing.
Chick-fil-A had a rear sign request, as I recall, but I think it had to do with the parking lot orientation. It was more of a wayfinding thing because of the rear entrance.
Yeah, and I think that this one's different with that front entrance, because I remember that from CBA, right? We had that? Yeah. So, that's kind of my thought with that.
Rob?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. I haven't seen the Kentwood. Were you involved in the Kentwood location?
No, sir, I was not involved with that project.
Okay, would you know what the square footage of the signage on that, and it's not your project, but you indicated consistency
Sure.
within the brand. I'm just curious if.
Sure, I don't know, you know, what they ended up with as far as their but I do know that, you know, assuming that they, you know, had either a signed permit process or, you know, I'm sorry, I lost my words. Again, we try and be consistent. So if they allowed for the signage, I would anticipate that it looks very similar.
So would you say this is, what you're proposing today is consistent with the, I'll say, the national standard or the standard prototype of a Raising Cane?
Yes, sir, it is.
Okay. Second question, if I could, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Your thoughts on the access, the 2/3, is there a solution to that?
So there's been a lot of discussions with our development team. Our landlord, or the landlord for this property, has actually reached out to the property owners to the north and given them the opportunity to purchase that property to connect to that access drive to the west. And they were not interested in doing that. Additionally, you know, when we look at the location that they're kind of jumping the curb now, that's going to terminate kind of right where our driveway or our drive-through is going to be. And so we have concerns on if we're bringing access right through there, you know, what is due to our operations, and then additionally, you know, if they're impeding our operations of the drive-through, are we then backing up and putting traffic on Alpine, putting traffic back into the shopping center? And so, you know, kind of Kane's position on this is, you know, we've made contact, we've tried to, you know, work out a deal between the landlord and the adjacent property owner to access to the west. They have not been responsive to the landowner, or didn't show interest in that. And so since it's not part of our lease agreement, you know, we would like to be able to get the site plan approved without the condition of needing access to the north.
Okay, good questions. Any other comments, questions for the applicant?
Should we open the public hearing?
Yep. Have a motion?
Yeah.
I'll make the motion to open the public hearing.
I'll second.
Okay, motion by Elena, supported by Jacob to open the public hearing. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
I motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Okay, motion by Mark, supported by Jacob to close the public hearing. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Got a question in terms of the activity on your property. Is it predominantly the drive-through that drives it, or is there, what degree
Yes,
the
sir.
interior?
So about 3/4 of the business is drive-through, with obviously the last quarter being, you know, sit down. But, you know, they're very efficient with their drive-through operations. That's their bread and butter. That's where we're trying to, you know, make the money. We are at like a 2.5 minute time from the time someone pulls in until this time someone leaves. They have a very, I say robust management plan for traffic control. There's various scenarios where they'll employ employees coming out with iPads to kind of help people come through. Traditionally, there's going to be 2 menu order boards, and they'll pull into one drive-through lane to pick up their food, but we can adapt that to have people bringing out food to the secondary drive-through lane. And Scott spoke on it, you know, with the opening and the traffic that's generated around that. Kane's is very used to and very comfortable with working with local PD to kind of establish traffic control when necessary.
Yeah, because we had a change to our zoning ordinance in the past year that included more specifics as far as requirements for drive-through lanes, and especially having an escape lane.
Yes, sir.
And this portrays that. Now, I think on another one of the graphics, I think there's a raised curb that separates the, at least on the westernmost part of the property, that separates the 2 main drive-through lanes.
No, sir. The 2 drive-through lanes will be separated just by striping. The only time there'll be a physical median is there at the menu boards.
Yeah, I think there's a curb line in one of them. Oh, that's also, okay. I thought there was a curb line.
This one to me looks like it was just for the bypass lane. What is this sheet?
But I think there was another sheet that actually
C
had
5.2. I thought it just showed just cones, and then the curb lane is on further to the whatever.
So,
edge of the property.
So it's consistent now with that opportunity to get out of line if things aren't moving very fast. Now, it sounds like yours, what you found nationwide is different, and we'll probably find that out as it goes through.
Well, and maybe I should correct myself, it's 2 minutes and 28 seconds. not
Okay.
2.5 minutes.
All right.
They'll want those 2 seconds.
I will say too, from going to the other ones in other states and stuff too, they are fairly quick and can get people through, so.
So, in terms of engineering, you didn't have any hot spots except for that consideration of that cross-access to the north.
That's correct, and I think there's other ways to maybe address that. You could put an easement in 2 of those parking spots so that if that neighbor to the north, the underlying parcel wanted to get access, they could do it at their schedule. You know, that's one way to do that. It might not hurt to ask for some documentation about the discussions that we've been told about tonight, because that stuff always, it isn't always as we hear, you know, sometimes. So, different ways you can approach that. It was important to the police, and we respect that.
Yep. Then we've had the discussion too on the signs. I don't know if we've got a consensus on that, Mark?
I agree with what's been said previously on the signs. You know, my main concern is establishing, you know, precedent, and this starts kind of creeping, that, you know, the next one's gonna go 5% more, et cetera, et cetera. So, you know, the west sign going away is good, considering the arrow to not be a sign. I just wanted to point out that if, I read somewhere, either Paula's report or the applicant's report, that this building is 40% smaller than the existing Fridays. So, I mean, if we move the standard a little bit on that and say, well, the existing building is, you know, if we fudge the numbers because this is such a small building and use the signage allowed by the Fridays based on that square footage, we're almost at 100. So, you know, you're chipping away at the edges here. We're closing in on that pretty quickly, and I'm pretty okay with that.
Okay, so as someone prepares to offer a motion on that, those would be some considerations. Just, again, I think that's a good point to kind of distinguish this one from other projects in terms of the reasoning why we did or didn't address it in this fashion.
I agree with that, yes, good comment.
I'll add, just for emphasis, the additional signage. For me, I'm okay with it because of the substrate nature of the downlighting. Meaning, if they were to change to a backlit sign, I would not be okay with it. So I'm specifically okay with essentially a mural-based signage with downlighting.
Okay. Good distinctions to consider.
Yeah, and I think that was what I brought up, Tom, too, like, it's not backlit, that's a huge thing for me. Downlit is completely different in my opinion. Yeah.
Your drawings here, they show outdoor patio dining. How much indoor dining is there?
So I don't have a direct square footage for you. Being civil engineer related, I don't focus a whole lot on the interior of the building. Maybe.
Okay, it is included in the concept though?
Yes, sir.
Indoor dining?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Well, again, we've got 2 separate motions. The first one is the special land use. And again, Paula pointed out those are enumerated within the staff report as far as things to consider, as far as a fit with the surrounding area, availability of safe movement of traffic. as it relates to the surrounding properties. Adequate utilities, access road, drainage. Use would otherwise conform with the applicable regulations of the zone district. Looking at those considerations, and those are part of our conversation, that would perhaps suggest that the special land use, it seems to check the boxes there. I think the questions our focus are probably more on the final area site plan, which includes the considerations for the PUD allowances on signs.
I'll offer a motion for the special land use.
Okay, thanks, Mark.
If I were to include a note for submitting the communications with the northern lot and pursuing an easement, would that go on the special land use or should that go on the FASP?
I would encourage that to go with the final area site plan.
Okay, thank you. Based on the application material provided, I make a motion to approve the special land use for Raising Cane's at 3179 Alpine Northwest to permit a drive-through use in the CPUD district in accordance with the plan set last revision dated 11/5/2025, subject to the following conditions and based on the finding of fact noted below. The establishment, maintenance, location, or operation of the drive-through will not be detrimental or endanger the public. The drive-through is compatible with the intent of the zoning district and will not change the essential character of the surrounding area. The drive-through use will not be injurious to the use or enjoyment of other property in the immediate vicinity for the purposes permitted, will not substantially diminish or impair property values within the area, and will not result in any significant adverse impact on the natural environment. The establishment, maintenance, location, or operation of the drive-through use will not impede normal and orderly development and improvement of surrounding properties for uses permitted in that district. Adequate utilities, access roads, drainage, and other necessary services or facilities have been provided such that the drive-through use will not place demands on public services or facilities in excess of capacity. And the drive-through use will, in all other respects, conform to the applicable regulations of the zoning district in which it is located, conditions imposed on approval, and other applicable provisions of law, ordinance, or statute.
I'll second.
Okay, motion by Mark, supported by Jacob to approve the special land use request. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Now we've got the final area site plan.
I'll make a motion for case number 25-016B for 3179 Alpine Avenue Northwest, Raising Cane's Restaurant. Based on the application material provided, I make a motion to approve the final area site plan for a new Raising Cane's quick service restaurant and associated site improvements at 3179 Alpine Avenue, subject to the following conditions and based on the findings of facts below. 1, provide correspondence with adjacent property owners related to the cross-access easement. The approval of the additional, this is where the signage goes, right, Paula? Signage for the Raising Cane's restaurant minus the sign facing to the west. Finding the facts per section 11.02.g.5, the PUD as described by the final area site plan dated 11/5/2025 does continue to meet the standards contained in the preliminary area site plan requirements section 11.02.c.7 of the zoning ordinance. The final area site plan is in substantial compliance with the previously approved preliminary area site plan, consisting of maps and accompanying written material. The PUD does comply with these uses permitted by the CPUD district and the uses approved within the related PSAP.
I'll support, and could I propose to the movement an additional finding of fact with respect to the signs that the previous use by the Fridays was a larger facility, and that the planning commission considers the directional, what's characterized as a sign more of a directional assist. And third, the planning commission noted that the mural is down a significant factor in the approval.
Did you mention anything about any sort of easement or access to the north of the site?
Yes,
Oh,
she did
sorry.
provide
Yep.
the correspondence for that. And yes, I agree with what Rob said.
Okay. So we have a motion by Elena, supported by Rob, and through collaboration, an amendment to that that's before us to conditionally approve it with those requirements and with that bases, supplemental bases on that.
Elena agrees.
Yes.
All right. So with that, anybody have any question with that motion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thank you very much. Paula?
We have 2 cases on the agenda for the first meeting in December, and 3 new applications that came in for the second meeting in December. So I hope that folks can come to the meeting the week before Christmas. I believe it's 12/17. We will have a meeting, 2 meetings in December. And additionally, if you came to the joint meeting we had on housing 2 weeks ago and didn't get a booklet, or you weren't here and you want a copy of the draft plan, I have those with me, as well as we finally got hard copies printed of the updated master plan that was adopted last year. It took a long time to get done, but I have hard copies. They're, stacks of all those 5 books. If anybody would like a set of those hard copy master plan books, I have them. I have enough for everyone. Not everyone wants them, to put in your office at home. But if you would like one, I have them. Just let me know.
Thank you. What's the schedule on the next time that discussion comes up on the housing?
We don't have the date set yet, but we're looking at January or February.
Okay, all right. So, do we have minutes or of that?
We will have minutes of that. They're not finished yet, so they were not on the agenda tonight, but we should have them by the first meeting in December.
So if anybody that wasn't able to take part in that, if we got some resources there to kind of bring you up to speed and look at it, I think would be beneficial if as many of us do take the time to look through the material and share your thoughts. There was some homework, some questions that were part of that, so that'll help guide you into what areas that were talked about that evening. But we're also looking for new perspectives on maybe not just what was talked about there, but anything else that you feel that would be helpful to include in this conversation. I think the consultant and Paula did a great job making a presentation on that. So we owe it to them to take a look at that and be active in this study.
Make a motion to adjourn?
Okay, motion by Jacob, supported by Rob, to adjourn.
I was going to make a comment.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Can we hold the motion for a second?
Okay.
I noticed in the media that Cascade Township I think it was Cascade Township was debating a master plan or zoning amendment which would kind of restrict to high-end residential. And I noticed on Facebook or one of the social media there was kind of a backlash in a sense, and I think for us it's helpful to kind of think of what kind of communities do we want, how welcoming are we to apartments and low income, and I don't have a position to advocate, but I just think it's something as we move forward, it's something to kind of keep in the back of our head and think, well, where do we really want to see Walker in 10 years or 15 years? So with that.
That That was a nice article about Cascade, yes, I agree with you.
Yeah.
Barbarians, I think they were referred to, some of the developers. Barbarians. I saw that too.
Okay, I'll make the motion again to adjourn.
I'll support it again.
Okay, motion by Jacob, supported by Rob to close the hearing, close the meeting. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thank you all.